Hello, everyone. My name is George Diaz, and I'm glad that you joined me for this webinar. Thank you for signing up. We've got lawyers from a lot of different places signed up. And those of you who might be listening to this after the fact, I hope you appreciate this. I'd appreciate it if you could kind of give me your full attention. If you could come up, turn off your email, maybe put do not disturb on your phone, so that you really get the most of this. This is not going to be a sales presentation. I'm not here to sell you on anything. I mean, I'd love to do business with you. But more than anything, I want you to get a really good idea of what are the things that you need to do as a business owner so that your website, your search work, how people find you online is all coordinated in such a way that you get results. I know a lot of you have been in business a while. You've seen things change, and the internet is really where people go when they're looking for a divorce attorney, assuming they don't have personal friends who can refer them, or business contacts. If someone's looking for a prenup, if someone's looking help for adoption, when people are looking for services, they will immediately go online. And so I want to go over what are the things that you need to do to be effective and make that work for you. So if we, you ever wonder what it would take to really have a dominant presence where you're the people that show up at the top of a Google or a Bing search, and you're the people that people think, well, they're at the top, I really should consider them. What are the kind of things that your business would change if you had a lot of people ringing the phones, a lot of people starting that conversation so that you can take it to the next step? My assumption is if you do get a phone call, if you do get someone reaching out to you via email, that you can take it to the next step, but you likely don't have enough people calling you, and what are the things that you can do about that? So wouldn't it be nice if you would know that your marketing strategy just plain worked so that you could take care of getting those leads, talking to those people, maybe work at qualifying some people out because they don't have enough money, because it's not really the kind of services you offer. Maybe the geography isn't right, whatever the case might be. But you could take care of what you do best, which is the lawyering, the resolving those kind of issues, versus having to figure out, where do I get my next client? So what you're about to discover is a blueprint, where I'm covering the most important marketing medium that you need to be tapping for your practice. We'll talk about what people used to do and how that's transitioned over the last several years. But the whole point is, how do you use this internet medium so that it works? How do you get your family law practice ranked at the top of Google so people think, well, they're number one, they're number two, they're number three, the people, the places where people expect you to be, so that they reach out to you. And so we're going to go over specifically a proven strategy that you can use, anybody, any business owner can use, to get yourself ranked in the Google Maps. And, we'll show you how that works. It's really an underutilized approach, because everybody's doing, paid or organic. And this map search is something I think a lot of people overlook, because it is a little bit newer. And not everybody in my field, in the SEO search engine space, is aware of it. So, and we're going to talk step by step how to use the strategy along with social media. I didn't write it in here, but also how do we use email marketing? Everybody says they hate email. Everybody says that it doesn't work for them. I don't believe it. I've been doing email for an awful long time. And as much as people hate it, they respond to it. Now, people are bombarded with a ton of it, so you have to figure out a way to stand out. But we're going to talk about how we can use that to really benefit your practice. So who is this guy? Why should I be listening? Why should I, spend any amount of time talking to this guy? Well, I've been doing web development since 1998. So, we're in 2018. That's 20 years. I've been doing this an awful long time. My claim to fame going way back is I built Enrique Iglesias' first website and his second website, and then he went off and got on a label, we parted ways. But I was doing websites back in the dark ages of the internet, and really enjoyed it, really have understood how to put the internet to use in a lot of different ways. I'm the owner of Larry Jacob Internet Marketing. It's the agency I started in 2010. We've been building websites, internet marketing campaigns. My team and I were Infusionsoft certified consultants. So we've really perfected how to use marketing automation, how to use email marketing, content marketing to make small businesses really stand out. Email, social media is all part of that. And then we have a lot of experience working with organic, paid search, and retargeting. And if you don't understand exactly what that means, don't worry about it. Well, we're going to cover that later in the presentation. So I like to also show that, we have been working with attorneys for quite a while. This is just a list of the folks that, are in our portfolio. But we understand the legal field. We understand family marketing. We understand what's legal, what's permitted by the bar. We get the question a lot from people asking us, from attorneys saying, well, is this going to be okay? Well, down here in South Florida, we have Alex Hanna, who's like the ticket, how do you cover your ticket law practice? He's got billboards, TV ads. He's doing it all over the place. He's not overtly soliciting, so he's never calling anyone, but he's definitely getting his name out there. So we understand what you can do, what's pushing the envelope. Every business owner, every lawyer has to decide how they want to go about it. But we're not novices to that. We understand what is it that you're allowed to do, what is it that you can do. And our goal is not just to understand what you can do, but how you can stay within what you're allowed to do and get you results. So, let's get on to it. How do you double your caseload? How do you get more clients by getting your internet right? And the thing is that a lot of people are doing it wrong. Now, if you're as old as I am, I got out of school in the 80s. There was a time when if you wanted to do anything successfully in your business, what you did is you took out an ad in the Yellow Pages. So, everybody got that big yellow book. It was delivered once a year. You either advertised in it, you made sure that the name of your firm started with an A. That's why, like if you're a locksmith or something, it's AAA Locksmith, because you want to make sure that you were sorted at the top, because people don't go and search all the way to R and V and Z. They want to be at the top. And so what a lot of people used to do, and they used to do it very successfully, is they would list themselves in the Yellow Pages. And that was the de facto way. It didn't matter if you were old, if you were young, whoever you are, it was like, hey, I need to go to, I need a locksmith, I need a plumber, I need an electrician, I need an attorney. I'm going to go there because that was the place you went to get results, right? Now, I don't need to be the first one to tell you that that's not what people do today. And it really doesn't even matter what the age group is. As much as people like to say that, the older generation isn't online, that's not true. A lot of families have, they're dispersed where the grandkids live in one part of the country, and then, the grandparents live somewhere else. And those grandparents, people in that age group, are communicating with the young folks, and they're using the internet to do that. So, remove from your mind that the older generations don't use the internet. They do. And the statistics will tell us, that it's blatantly clear. When people come up and go to find a service that they want, they go to the internet, and 97% is the number. Now, they might do it on their PC, probably not. The place they're really going is they pull out their cell phone and they check it out here, because who carries their laptop around? Even if you're, using a tablet, people are on their phones. And, just think of, hey, I'm in a new town and I'm looking for a restaurant. You come up, you go to Yelp, you go to Google Plus, you go to Yahoo Local, and you find a restaurant and you find out what people's ratings are, what their reviews are. And it's kind of like, hey, look, we're thinking of Chinese. Hey, look, this Chinese restaurant has a bunch of positive reviews, 5 stars out of 5. Let's try that place out. So this is where people go to get answers. Now, if you are someone who was very involved with the Yellow Pages, a lot of people, what they did next is they got a call from their Yellow Pages people. Now they're called YP.com. And what the YP guy did is say, hey, look, you're probably noticing that you're not getting a lot of calls from these ads. And I tell you, these ads, were thousands of dollars a month. It's not like these were inexpensive. And so the YP guys went out and said, hey, we've been doing business with you a long time. We want to do right by you. So what we're going to do is we're going to put you into YP.com, which is the online Yellow Pages. And a lot of people, either through loyalty, they're naive, they really didn't think it through. YP is not what people wake up in the morning and say, hey, I'm going to go to YP.com and I'm going to look for my lawyer. That's not where people are thinking. They're thinking Google, they're thinking Bing. So that idea is not the right one. Now, here's another thing. When a YP company or someone like that approaches you, they're going to include a website with it. And that's definitely a valuable thing. There's money, you got to spend some money to get a website. So when they say, hey, we'll include a website in it, the problem is that these kind of companies give you a generic website. Now, it may not look like everybody else's, but it's going to be, the front page that describes the firm. It gives you, maybe, here's the services that we offer. And then, there's like a page with all the services on it, but there's nothing engaging about it. There's nothing personal about it. Now, this is when I like to refer to my site. If you go to familylawmarketingguru.com, you'll see my picture on it. If you go to our agency site, LarryJacob.com, you'll see my picture on it. You'll see pictures of our team. In that site in particular, I include why I named the company Larry Jacob. It's named after my father and my grandfather, Larry and Jacob. And, that's where the name comes from. I want people to connect with me. I want to be more than just a corporation, because people don't do business with corporations. People do business with people. And before people pick up the phone, before they get out there and try to check you out, before they talk to you, they're going online and they're scouring the net for information on you. They're definitely going to go to your site. They're going to go to third-party sites. They want to see what kind of reviews you have. And they're sizing you up. So when they're on the phone with you, or when they've emailed you and are asking for a call, what they're really trying to do is to validate if what they know about you, what they've read about you, is true. They're not waiting for you to regurgitate a full-blown introduction of that, because they already know that. What they want to find out is this all true, or is it fluff? They're also trying to see if there's a personal connection. Do I like this person? Because the last thing you want to do is have, let's say a lawyer represent you in a divorce and have that person be someone that grinds you, that just annoys you all the time, that doesn't share, the priorities that you have. So that's important. By the way, and that's another reason why, in order to personalize your site, what you really want to do is put some video on there. So not only can people see you, but they hear you, they see how you express yourself, they get a real personal feeling. And I tell you what, I produce so much video that I'll go to conferences and people will walk up to me and said, I know you from somewhere. And, 9 times out of 10, it's because, I've produced a lot of video blogs, and they've seen me in action. And, every once in a while it's like, oh yeah, you're that guy. And they won't remember my name. They won't remember the company that I work with. But they will come up and they go, you're the guy that produces those videos on this subject. So those are the kind of things that when you work with a large company who focuses on, let's say, YP.com, they're not going to get you the information that, a website that's going to give the information that engages with your customer. So enough about that. So after you've dealt with someone from YP.com, now you know, you're likely to work with someone that says, hey, look, we can do paid ads for you. So that means that when people do a search, they'll search for, you know, family law Miami. That's where I live. You know, here in the example, we've got family law attorney in Naples. So what we're trying to do is do a search, and then by paying for it, we're showing up. And then you see these little ad things in here, you know, it'll show up. Now, in these sort of services, you get that same thing. You get like the cookie cutter websites. You're not going to get video on them. You're not going to get a lot of real personalization, and you're not going to get content on those sites that really represents you in a way that attracts people. So the problem is the engagement is low. And what we have found is in situations where people are only doing paid searches, you get some sort of results. I mean, I can't knock it. You will get some response, but it's tough to get a good return on your investment. It almost seems like every month you get a bill and the amount of business you got in is about the same. So, you know, you're kind of breaking even, maybe you're making a little bit. But when you think about the Yellow Pages day where people had the paper, you know, and they were giving you results, you're definitely not getting that. So it's an offer to consider, and pay-per-click, you know, is something that we include in our offers, but it's something we offer secondarily, and I'll explain to you in a little bit why. So, you know, this is kind of like an evolution that we've seen a lot of the businesses that come to us looking for services that have gone through. And then, so what I want to do is kind of illuminate you. How do we get beyond this? How do we make the internet really work? How do we get our internet marketing right so that we get results? So, you know, like I said here, this is not an option to consider. We got a thumbs down on there. But what is it that you really do need to have? So in order to get your web marketing right, these are things that you have to have. First of all, you have to use the latest visual design standards, and that includes making sure that your site looks really good across all platforms. If you look at the stats, you'll find that half the people that arrive at your site are coming from a phone. They're working on their mobile device. Maybe they're on a tablet, but for the most part, they're on the phone because everybody's got a phone everywhere they go. So the website doesn't even just need to perform well on a phone. It needs to be optimized to work best on your phone. And then it has to work, of course, well on PC and Macs. So that's something that just absolutely needs to happen. It's got to look modern. It's got to look, you know, I mean, it can't be dated. And you'll go to a lot of sites that were built even like 2 years ago, and they already look dated. Now, there are ways to design sites, so you don't have to come back and visit it every, you know, 1 or 2 years. You know, maybe you can get 3 or 4 years out of it. But the whole point is it has to be current. It has to be perceived as, you know, modern. Otherwise, people are going to assume, well, man, if the services these people provide are as good as their website, I'm a little concerned. So that's something you have to consider. Now, the website has to have personality, is what we like to call it. And the reason why this is so important is because we want to make sure that people arrive and they get to know you. If someone is looking for an attorney, you know, let's say they're looking for a prenup, they're getting married, you know, they're not thinking divorce. They're just saying, hey, I need a prenup for some reason. They're wanting to connect with someone that, you know, obviously can do the contract work. That's a given. But they also want to connect with someone who's thinking about the same things that they're thinking about. I mean, I know I've been married 34 years, so I'm like fortunate. A prenup isn't something that even really was promoted back in the day. But you know, if I were getting a prenup, my biggest concern is, man, am I going to be able to present this idea to my fiance and still get married? Because this might set her off. It might make her angry. She tells her friends, and now her friends are all mad at me. I mean, I'm interested in getting married. Otherwise, I wouldn't have proposed to this lady, but I also want to protect my assets. So I want to make sure that the person I'm talking to understands that sensitivity. And in addition to getting me a contract, you know, is enabling me to get it signed by my fiance in such a way that we are still friends, and not only friends, but we're soon to be married again, right? So, you know, if it's something that's being imposed on me by my parents because my parents have assets and they're concerned about this person wanting to, you know, gold dig on, you know, whatever the thing might be, you know, can my attorney really get in there with me, right? So that they're not just there to sign a contract, they're there establishing a relationship with me and actually helping me in my relationship with my, you know, spouse to be. So that's what we mean by personality. Videos are key. If you go to, you know, 5 different websites for divorce attorneys, just pick them. You'll be lucky if you get any videos. If you do get a video, it's like a generic, "Hi, how you doing? My name is, you know, attorney at law, George Diaz." And they seem stiff, they're overproduced. They provide like a generic introduction, and I'm not saying you shouldn't have that, but I would like to hear an attorney giving an opinion about a prenup. You know, or if, let's say, someone has had an affair, you know, my spouse has had an affair, and now, you know, we're kind of getting back together, and now I want a post-nup, I would like to hear an attorney talk about that. What are the issues? What are the things I need to think about? You know, you're not giving free legal advice. You're educating a layperson who is not an attorney. You're not providing legal advice. You're talking about the issues that come up, the things that you know are important in their mind, and to stay away from, you know, crossing over any bar issues. What you want is to talk like you would talk to your son if they were getting married and you wanted to provide them with advice about a prenup, a postnup, you know, whatever. So, you know, it's super important that you get information on a site, almost blog-like, that's informational. So someone goes to the site, compares it to someone else, and says, "Hey, this is a level above this other guy," and there's stickiness to it. It's like, I got a good feel for it. Well, there are very few sites today for a divorce attorney, for a family law attorney, where you go and you even get a feel other than something that's just corporate, you know, with the bookshelf in the back or something. So you really want to get past that. Now, beyond that, now we're talking about SEO kind of thing, search engine stuff. So you want to make sure that you have pages optimized for each practice area, the areas where you provide services. So you have to have an individual page for divorce issues, for child custody issues, for prenups, another one for postnup, adoption services. You know, all those services need their own page. And it's not because I want to build a bigger site for you, but it's because Google can only optimize, you can only optimize a page for Google search for a very small number of keywords. You can't optimize one page so that it comes up for family law attorney, Naples, Florida, and postnups lawyer, Naples, Florida, and child custody, Naples, Florida. And then, oh, by the way, you know, another town that's nearby, let's say Fort Myers or Marco Island. You can't do that with one page. You have to build a number of different pages, each of which talks about that service and then uses the words related to a location, so that when I search prenup agreement, Naples, Florida, that one page is optimized so that it can get to the very top of a search result for that key phrase or that key terms, set of terms. Now, you would have to then create another page for, let's say, adoption lawyers or adoption services lawyer, Naples, Florida. Now, this all sounds very tedious, and by the way, it is, but there's a science to doing it, there's a methodology for doing it, and these are the kind of things that make it so that your site ranks high when people are searching for terms, particularly terms in your local area, because, you know, keep in mind, people, when they're searching, are going to search for someone who's close to them. If I'm getting divorced in Florida, I'm not going to be looking for an attorney in Montana, right? So these are these are the kind of pages you need. The other thing is you need to make sure that you have inbound links. So what's an inbound link? An inbound link is a link on another site that points to you. So let's say, for example, Yelp. Yelp has actually done a good job of creating a place where you can check out the reviews of attorneys. So if you are listed in Yelp, and we'll talk about this, and you get reviews with Yelp, then you show up higher in Yelp because your reviews, justify ranking you higher. But then Google comes up and says, hey, look, Yelp points to this site. Now, Yelp is no small player. They have a lot of clout. So you borrow authority from Yelp. You borrow authority from Yelp in the area of family law, and then that pushes up your authority, in the search engine's eyes. And the same is true for Yahoo and Bing. All the search engines, share a lot of the same processes, right? So you need to have a consistent process for getting these links built, and that's part of the, those are things that you develop. Now, I've talked about reviews. You want to make sure that there's a systematic way to get reviews online. And I'll just give you something here. We've been working with a company that had no reviews. They just had no review strategy. And we set them up. They had sold in the last 3 months 163 installations. So they had 163 people that had never done any reviews. They had never spoken to them about reviews, but they kind of assumed that they were happy with their services. They had a good reputation locally. And so all we did was send out an email that said, would you please rank us? Should take about 2 minutes of your time. It would be a huge help for us. We sent out the email and they immediately got 17 reviews. Now, that is the beginning of getting reviews. But if you have a process for consistently getting reviews as you're running cases with your clients, after the results of the case were won, you will get reviews. The thing is that a lot of us, either because we're too shy, because it's not part of our process, we think we're imposing, we don't ask for them. But that builds a lot of credibility with the search engines. And honestly, if you're doing good work and you have good relationships with your clients, they'd be more than happy to get your reviews. And I just, this just happened to be something that happened this week. We had this one client with 17 reviews. 17 reviews is huge. Try to do a search for family law attorneys anywhere. Pick your city and try to find any one of the attorneys that shows up, like in the map listings. Try to find anyone that's got 5 reviews, 10 reviews. 17 is over the top. And that alone can make a huge difference in how Google places you in search results. And then you need to release content once or twice a month. The more consistent you are, the better. Publishing 4 articles in 1 month and then no articles for the next 6 months is not the approach. You want to be able to trickle out content so that Google and the search engines see that you produce content. Your content is consistent with the area where you want to get ranked in search. So it has to be somewhat related to family law. And you're providing advice. Actually, sorry, you're not providing advice, you're providing information. So you're providing information about, what would you do in this set of circumstances? You can talk about, how much does a divorce cost? And again, it's not like you're giving away your prices, but you're coming up and saying, hey, look, a really, simple, completely uncontested divorce starts at this. And, depending on where you live, that's $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, whatever the number might be. And, if this happens, if you have to go and bring in forensic people and whatever, now it's $15,000, $20,000, whatever the numbers are. But if I'm thinking about getting divorced, and especially if I'm a guy, I'm probably going to be thinking, what's this going to cost me? And as a matter of fact, I say if you're a guy, if you're a woman and you're not the primary breadwinner, you've got to be thinking, okay, what kind of a shell shock am I going to be giving my husband if I serve him with papers, with the assumption that either they're going to pay or it's going to be shared, whatever the expense structure is. What am I getting into? And the attorney on the site that got a video or content or something that's being released constantly, and they cover, here's how much you can expect to spend on a, typical divorce like this, that's the one that's going to get me information that I want. Okay, so, so what does online marketing mean today? First of all, it means that you have an updated website based on what I just discussed. The website is not only set up to receive traffic. So, the search engine stuff, and we're going to talk more about that in a little bit, but is also set up to convert. And by convert, it means that people arrive, read, and then take some sort of real action. At a minimum, they, maybe ask to download, maybe a tips sheet, 10 things you need to, you need to think about if you're picking a divorce lawyer, 5 ideas for being most successful as you deliver a prenup to your fiance, whatever those things are. So the conversion would be that someone gave you their first name and their email address, and they downloaded, we call them lead magnets, but whatever it is that you're offering, because by the way, now you have their email address, and there's more on that when we start talking about email, right? So you have to make sure that your site is mobile friendly, because if you're not mobile friendly, you're losing at least half of your audience. You get active SEO, so you got the link building, you're creating content consistently, and you've optimized for Google Maps. So it's optimized for google.com places. I'm definitely going to cover this in the next section. You've got citation development, which means that you're getting reviews, and you're getting that really with a consistent process for getting reviews, from people. So, along those lines, you want to have an active social media. Now, by the way, these are in order of importance, except for this one. I'm going to talk about, I'm going to talk about this last one. Social media is something you might want to consider. Facebook, Twitter, especially if you are active on those social media platforms initially. Email marketing, definitely. You want to create a list of people who know you. And so keep in mind, let's say, let me give you an example. A couple of years ago, my wife's cousin gets served papers by his wife. He comes over our house because we're pretty close, and he says, dude, look at what happened. And frankly, he was probably the last guy to think this was going to happen. We kind of saw it coming based on, just the way we saw the relationship. But anyway, so he comes to us and he goes, who do I call? Now, I don't know any divorce attorneys. We don't have divorce attorneys in our family. However, my brother, a year and a half earlier, had gotten divorced. And I remember him talking about, hey, the lady I had was great, whatever. He gave me some positive stuff. I go, look, call my brother Danny. He knows about divorce. He's been through it. He can give you a hand. But if I had not had my brother, I literally would not have a resource to refer to him with. But if I had been on social media and every couple weeks I'm seeing a message, information about divorce in my feed, I come up and say, hey, look, let me look through my feed. There's this guy that's really consistent. And because someone is sharp online, even if they're entertaining, like I referred earlier to Alex Hanna. He's our local ticket doctor. He's the one that you call if you got a speeding ticket to fix it. And it's entertaining. It's fun, but I remember the guy because he's consistent. He's out there. So if I do something like that via email, via social media, if my cousin comes to me and says, hey, who do I call for a divorce attorney? I go, look, I don't know if this guy's any good, but he's consistent. He seems very professional in the emails he sends me. Give him a call. And that's a way to kind of generate more word of mouth business. Now, I leave these for the end because I never recommend doing paid search first, especially in the legal field, because you could spend an awful lot of money, and believe me, Google and Facebook will take all the money you want, and they don't care if they get any results. So you need to do these other things first, see if that gets you results. So you do some testing, you do some, analysis, find out what keywords are getting results, what pages you send people, and then they get in contact with you, so that once you have something that works, then you throttle paid search and see the sort of results there. But there's a method to this. You don't want to do paid first, because that can be expensive, and it can give you no results. Retargeting is something that we think complements a lot of this search well, because if someone arrives at your site, you can do what's called cooking them, and then every time they visit Amazon.com or, let's say an NFL football site or whatever, the ads can be published only to people who visit your site. And the nice thing about that is it's hyper-targeted. It's only sent to people who have visited your site. The assumption is that they visited your site, they have an interest in what you have to offer them. And that being the case, you're sending it to someone who visited your site and then maybe decided not to do anything. But in the meantime, they may have gone to 3 or 4 other sites. And maybe they're kind of like, I haven't really found anybody that I like. And now all of a sudden they start seeing your ads everywhere, which makes you look bigger. It reminds them of you. And now it's like, hey, give us a call. So that's something that we recommend. Now, finally, you have to track and measure results. Otherwise, you're just kind of throwing sand into the wind and hoping it lands in the right place. So you want to find out when you start campaigns like this, is the phone number you give is something that can be tracked. So you know exactly how many phone calls came in because of that campaign, that search engine term, and you can really watch this closely, because what you want to do is say, hey, I've done all this work. Here's the results. How many visitors do I have to my site? How many visitors are going to that page? And so the better you track and measure results, and you make this a standard, not just something you check every once in a while, now you know what's happening on your site. So if you haven't done so already, I'd like for you to go to this URL, familylawmarketingguru.com/handout, and there you can download a checklist that we've put together, and I'm following this in this presentation. I've already covered parts of this, but it'll give you something where you can kind of see where you're currently at and how you can use this information I'm sharing with you to take a step up in your business. So let's see here. Okay, so here is a typical search. And what I've done is I've done a search for family law attorney, Naples, Florida. Now I could have done divorce attorney, and we're going to talk about search terms in a little bit. What are the search terms that people use when they're trying to look for a divorce attorney, a child custody attorney, someone to do their prenup. But this is just an example, and I picked Naples, Florida. That's a small city in the west coast of Florida here. Just to give you an example. Now, when you look at a search on here, and I'm going to do this. Let me bring over, that's cutting the page up. But here is one where I can use this to show you how this works. So when you do a search on, and this one's just a little bit different, divorce attorney, first you're going to see the ads. Now, these are people who are doing paid search, and they are paying Google money to appear here at the top. Now, the research tells us that 80% of people just go right past that to something below because they know that these are commercials. These are paid ads, right? Now, the next area, and this is an area that I'm going to focus on first, to show you how this works, is the map search. Now, this works with Google Maps, and when people pull out their phone, they're driving around, let's say they're looking for a restaurant, or they're looking, let's say they want to print something, and they're looking for a FedEx or a Kinko store. This area here is biased towards your current location. Or if you type in something like Naples, Florida, it'll come up like that. So it's going to show you this map, and it's going to show you these listings. Now, I'm going to click on here because I want to show you just a little more detail. Now, this, will show you the same thing that was there before. You'll see ads here. So I'll back up a second. So it's going to show you here 1, 2, 3. So we got Naples, Scott, and we have law offices of Sanya. If I go in here, you'll see these 3 are in here, but again, we've got ads. Now, again, most people are going to start here because they know that these are paid for ads. But then people can look at the map here and say, oh, I live like way over here. Look, these guys, these 4 people are close to me. Some people may just go right here and say, hey, they're close enough. This is, let's see here. I mean, these are all relatively close to me. They might start looking at reviews, and we're going to talk about reviews in a moment. But the thing is, you want to be at the very top of this. And this is not something you pay for. I'll show you exactly how Google organizes this, or how they rank people in this area. But you really want to be at the top. Now, if you're way, way down at the bottom, that's not a good thing. That's like being on page 3 or 4 of a regular search. You're never going to get found. So, you know, we've got the top part, which is the ads. Then we have this map section. And then beneath this is organic search. So these are pages of your site that rank highly for specific terms. And so, you know, we always recommend on a site, make sure you have one page. And that page is dedicated to the search term, divorce attorney, your city. So if you lived in, let's say, Omaha, Nebraska, it would be divorce attorney, Omaha, Nebraska. Then you would create another page, family law, Omaha, Nebraska. And then you optimize that page for that city. And, you know, on and on and on, you know, child custody attorney, Omaha, Nebraska, so that you start showing up here. Now, showing up in map, not only does it give you visibility in this area, but it starts building authority. Because when people start clicking on these links and start arriving at your site, Google says, hey, look, it seems like this site here has information that's valuable to people searching for these terms. We should start building the credibility. And then I'm also going to show you other things in a moment that help legitimize you in Google's eyes. And by the way, anything I say for Google is also going to be true for Bing and for Yahoo. So it legitimizes you and shows the search engine that you're not just some little fly-by-night business. You're a business that is recognized throughout the internet as someone that's really doing business in that space, you know, family law, and, you know, there's some credibility there. So let me, I've kind of gone through this already. So there's the pay-per-click area at the top, there's the maps, and then there's organic at the bottom. And like I said, 80% of people are skipping the paid ads. You know, they just kind of go right past it and they go to the map or the organic because they know that's the most credible search result for people looking to solve the problem that you're trying to solve with that search. Okay, now I wanted to include in here what are the top family law keywords that you should be going after. You know, your city divorce attorney, and you could flip these so that it's divorce attorney, your city, but divorce attorney, divorce lawyer, family attorney, family lawyer. Interestingly enough, we found that more non-legal people search for attorney than they do lawyer. I'm not totally sure why. We want to cover both of them, but it's interesting that people are looking for a divorce attorney versus a divorce lawyer. You know, you can go after words like divorce lawyer for men, divorce lawyer for women, because some people, when they're getting divorced, are saying, look, I want someone who specializes in working with men because I have, you know, some issue with my wife that I think someone who understands the man's side of a divorce is going to be better or not. The same is true for divorce lawyer women, child custody, prenuptial agreement lawyer, adoption lawyer. Some people will look for, best family lawyer, best divorce lawyer, family legal advice, divorce legal advice, international divorce. You know, I live in Miami, and there's a lot of people that are getting divorced, but they were married in another country. So the divorce has to be handled so that the divorce is valid here based on what happened in another country. Sometimes there's nobody in that other country that can help with the paperwork that's necessary. So it's, you know, it's a specific niche. So that might be something, depending upon the kind of law that you practice, you know, you probably want to consider. So, you know, what we like for people to look at is, okay, do you have the main keywords in your title tag? I'm not going to get into the specifics of a website because I could be here forever, but I do want you to think about, do you have title tags that tell Google and the search engines, this site is about this topic, which is divorce, family law, child custody, adoption, you know, whatever that might be. Do you have pages for each law firm practice area? So do you have all your services listed in one page, or do you have specific pages dedicated to each service? Now, earlier I mentioned that you might want to have, or you should have, you know, child custody services or child custody legal services. That would be one page, but you could also say, I'm going to have a child custody legal advice, Coral Gables, Florida. And then I'm going to have a child custody advice, let's say, Hialeah, Florida. So those are two cities, two municipalities in the same geographical area, and you can create different pages that target keywords that people might be searching. Now, you may be in Coral Gables, but Hialeah is one city over. So, you know, as a way to increase your exposure, increase your ability to show up in more searches, you start bleeding over into other cities. And then, you know, you look at a map and you look at what are the, you know, the 5 to 10 cities or municipalities around me, and you custom build pages for each of those. Now, for sure, you need to have a page for each of the attorneys in your practice. So that way, when someone is searching for that person, you show up. You know, and some people might be searching for one of your associates. You want to make sure you throw out a cast net that's as big as possible. Now, each page on your site, if you want it to rank, and this is mainly in the organic search section, it has to have unique content. You can't just come up and copy your divorce attorney services page, clone the page, and then just plug in Miami, Florida, Omaha, Nebraska, whatever your city is, and expect Google to rank it. Because when Google sees two pages that seem very similar, what it's going to do is it's going to penalize both of them, and you're almost like splitting the authority for the page. So you never want to come up and get a page and just clone it over and over again and then add keywords for the municipality. You need to rewrite it. And you know, we actually have copywriters on our team that know how to take, you know, let's say 3 or 4 paragraphs that describe a service and rewrite it so that it still flows nicely. It still says the same thing, but is written in such a way that Google isn't going to think that it's a duplicate page. And then here's really something I want you to think about. Are you helping Google understand your ideal practice areas? So is your site geared so that if Google, or really even a human being, sees it and says, oh, these guys must specialize in this more so than that? So, you know, you've got to help them out. You don't want them to just, you know, navigate your site as they're indexing it and have them decide what it is that you do. You want to push them in the direction that works to your advantage. So what we're really trying to do here is we want to optimize the site with SEO smarts so that people call you. You want your phone to ring. You want people to fill out a form on your site, have that send you an email so that you can call them back. I mean, if you can get them to call you and then, you know, you pick up the phones, that's, you know, an ideal situation. So it's just a matter of working that logistic, you know, so that you're receiving it and you're responsive and people say, hey, these people are really up on this. They're not just putting up a website and then kind of responding to people that respond to the site. I mean, that's like, if you do that poorly, you know, you got like a leaky, like a big hole in your boat, and it's just a great way to waste leads. So you definitely, and I mentioned this earlier, you definitely want to make sure your website is mobile friendly. You know, 48 billion people now own phones, 3 out of 5 consumers, especially when they're doing local business searches, they're doing it on their phone because they're not home. You know, they're driving around. Google reports that 40% of the mobile phone consumers turn to a competitor if they had a bad mobile web experience. So if the site is too slow, people that are running around on their phones are much less patient on a slow site. So you have to make sure that your site is quick, responsive. You can't have huge graphics. It can't be a monster page that takes forever to load. So that's something that you really need to take into consideration. So the next thing is your website itself optimized for conversion? So, I mean, it's great that people are arriving at your site, but when they get there, are you welcoming them? Are they getting the information they want? So first of all, you need to have the phone number in the top right-hand corner of every page. And that should be something that if I'm on my phone and I, you know, touch the screen, it should start a phone call. It can't just be a phone number, like let's say inside of a graphic. It's got to be something that's easy to call. Are you using authentic images and videos? I can't tell you how many times I get to a website and, you know, you have a picture of, you know, a husband that's doing one of these, or, you know, a couple that's fighting, and it's obviously stock photography. You know, I've also, you know, you go to a website and you see a father with his kid flying a kite. It's, you know, it's stock photography. You need your site to have pictures of you. You want it so that if someone calls the office or if someone walks into the office, they see or hear the voice of the person they see on your website. Because when they call you, you want it to be, oh, I like what I saw on the website. I show up and it's not BS. I actually see the people that are on the site. So that connectivity builds your credibility. It makes you look real. You know, if you have a video, the video should be of the attorney they're likely to meet. It's okay to have like an introductory video that shows like a pan of the front office with the receptionist there, so that when they walk into the office, it's like, yeah, that's the lady I saw in the video. You need that connectivity. You want that engagement. If you write a blog article, write the blog article, but then record a video of you delivering the same message that's in the article. Because people will go, they'll see, oh, look, there's an information advice on, you know, how to retain the rights of, you know, your child custody rights, or, you know, how to write a really good prenup. And if it's you talking about it, they get to see you, they get to hear you. They get to judge in the back of their mind, you know, I kind of like this person. This person seems pretty cool. And seeing you is always better than not seeing you. A lot of people get super gun shy when it comes to going on video. Just think of the people that you see on TV in legal ads. Some of them look pretty good. I've seen people that look horrible, but it's better to be seen and be seen as who you are than to not be seen at all. And just because you're self-conscious or whatever, take a video and just show it to a couple people you know. Most of the time people will say, hey, that's not bad. We always, when we see ourselves on video for the first time, get a little paranoid. We get very self-conscious, and you really need to get past that. And like I said, you know, you have to be mobile friendly, you know, as well as supporting the other platforms. So we're going to talk about inbound links and authority, because here's something. I'm going to show you some solid examples of this. So Google comes up and says, okay, here's Fred the attorney. He's an attorney in Naples, Florida. Pretty good. That seems fine. There's his address. There's his phone number. Good. The next thing that the Google engine does is it say, well, let me see who else knows about this person. And what they're trying to do is seeing, is this like one person who says they live here, or can I go to Facebook, Yahoo, CitySearch, Yelp, and all of the other minor directories, you know, like yp.com. I'll show you a list of all these and verify that you are who you say you are. And that is another thing that Google comes up and uses to make you more prominent in search results. Now, some people come up and tell me, hey, George, why the heck am I going to put myself in yp.com? Or why am I going to be doing CitySearch? I've never even heard of those things. I wouldn't even know to use them to search. I totally agree with you. I search 98% of the time in Google, right? But you want to be in these other directories because of the authority it buys you with Google, because Google will check it out. And I'll show you what that looks like. So, you know, no, let me not get ahead of myself. Okay, so I'm going to go off-road again. Let me jump into here. So let me show you, and by the way, here's a free resource. I don't advertise this. I don't give this link unless I'm talking to people or if you're watching my video. But if you go to familylawmarketingguru.com and you go to free scan, you can run one of these scans on your business and find out what the results are. But I want to show you two searches here. So I'm going to start with, okay, so I'm going to go to divorce attorney Coral Gables. And I'm picking this because I have some examples I want to show you so you can compare someone that shows up high and someone that doesn't. Okay, so I'm going to go here. I'm going to skip over this one, and I'm going to go right to the map. So look at this person right here. This one is paid for. So let's say we skip that one. There's this one, Corolla. There's no reviews. So here's this person, Christy Hertz. She's got 5.0, 2 reviews. 2 reviews is not huge, but you know, it's better than none. So I'm likely to maybe click on that, right? So I'll click. Now, this is not a bad position to be in. It's position number 2. Now, I want you to notice what people see immediately. They see the address, they see a phone number, hours, and we see a picture. There's a real person. This isn't just some law firm. Now, this attorney has named the law firm after themselves. Good move, because people don't do business with businesses. They do business with people. Then you can come up, and I'm going to right click here so we open up another window. And now you go to their site. Again, picture of them, you know, something they specialize, family law, probate, guardianship, credibility. I'm not going to get into their website. But the thing is that there's continuity. People can go in there and they find something out about them. Okay. Now, I'm going to go way, way down to the bottom. No one ever goes this far, but what I did is I picked the lowest one, okay, purposely, and I'm going to show you something about this, okay? So I'm going to click now on this one. Okay, we got a picture of the building. Now, this is not too far from where I'm at. This doesn't really remind me of the building because they're kind of sharing space in a bank. So this is probably a Google My Business listing that was just created by either information from a client that said something online. So I'm just speculating here, but I don't think this person has ownership of their Google My Business. Or if they did, they built it and then they just left it alone and they didn't do much with it. Because you'll notice in here, you know, it's showing me search information, but there's not much else in here. As opposed to if I go up to this person's profile, we have her picture, we have reviews. That's a good thing. There's the reviews. Now you can go a little bit farther. And to be honest with you, this person doesn't even have a lot of images. You can embed images in here. You can embed videos. So there's a lot more that can be done. But in any case, this Christy Hertz is at the top. Okay, so I'm going to go into the free scan for this person. Okay, so let's go to Christy first. So here's Christy. Now, I want to point out that despite the fact that she's listing up high, a scan of the site tells me that her directory listings are inconsistent. The name of her business, according to how she's listing it online, and let me see if I can find that tab, is Christy L. Hertz, PA. But you'll notice inside of Yahoo, okay, Christy Hertz, PA. Over in Bain, she's Christy Hertz. Over on Facebook, she's Hertz Christy L. PA. And, you know, there's a little bit of a skip in there. She's not in Foursquare. Here, there's inconsistency. So every time you see one of these little red X's, it means there's inconsistency between the directory listings. But the good thing is that this person does have a lot of listings inside of the different, so they do have entries, and that pushes her up. So this is all good. The website has, you know, a schema. There's not a review schema, so that's a technical thing on the site. And you know, the overall review is, you know, 56% of similar businesses in Florida have better reviews, and that makes sense because she's only got 2 reviews. And then there's an 80% listing inaccuracy. Despite that, she's showing up, and Coral Gables is a, you know, a well-to-do area here in Miami, so that's, you know, there's improvement that can be made, and even though this person comes out well. Now, where she might get penalized is in a search for, let's say, divorce attorney Miami, Florida, but because it's inconsistent here, that could be penalizing her in other areas. So there's other search terms where she might show up higher if she changed that, or maybe for other search terms like child custody lawyer, Coral Gables, Florida. Now let's go over to the person that's at the very bottom. Now you'll notice it's still saying that it's 56%, but this one has 90% inaccuracy. So it's interesting what 2% can do for you. Now, the thing that this person has is that there's a lot more unlisted. So she's listed in a lot of places, but not as many as the other person. And this person has no reviews. So as a result, that's the difference between the two. Now, this person did work, it seems pretty hard to get to get listed in Yelp, and the Yelp listing is pretty good. They're listed in MapQuest and in Bing. But once you get past that, there's a lot of missing obvious listings. You see all these blanks where this person here, they're missing here, but for the most part, you have a couple of empty spots, but for the most part, there's many less of these listings not found. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of background as to what is it that makes you show up. And 70% of the battle is getting those links, because when Google sees, hey, look, they're listed in a lot of these other places and there's links from there to their website, it says, hey, there's authority here. There's a reason for me to list them higher in search results because they're more legitimate. And then, by the way, then you've got, AVVO, you've got FindLaw, you've got the law-specific directories where you need to be listed primarily so other lawyers can find you, because frankly, lay people don't really go there to find an attorney unless, they've got some sort of legal background or someone, pushed them in that direction. So that's more for lawyer to lawyer sort of thing. But you want to be in there because, again, that gives you additional authority that you can use to boost your search results. Okay, so are you consistently creating content? Up until now, we've mentioned the paid search area, and that's another science all to itself. We usually leave that for last because it can be expensive, especially if you're not doing it right and if you haven't done these other things first. So I've got the map listings described to you. That's how you show up in that middle section. Now we're talking about the bottom. How do you get organic authority? So the key here is you have to create content. When someone is searching for, let's say, prenup agreement advice, and they add a municipality or the name of a city, they're looking for the advice. They may not necessarily be looking for an attorney. And so what you want to do is match what someone searching for that term might be looking for. Now, the reason you want to do that is so that you show up. But now you're showing up, and the page that comes up is going to be an advice blog. It's something that answers their question. And the reason that's important is because someone shows up and it's like, oh, look, this is advice. This is pretty good. So they start spending more time on your site. By the way, that helps you in search authority because Google says, hey, look, people don't just show up and leave. They show up, they actually read the article, they spend 1.5 minutes, 3 minutes on the site. That's good for you. You're showing up now for a term that the person was looking for. That sets you apart from the other attorney where the search term just shows up and it's like the homepage of the site and the name of the attorneys and the services they provide, because you're engaging with them. Now, at the bottom of the engagement, somewhere on that page, it's like, hey, give us a call. Here's my phone number. Maybe there's a pop-up so that people can set up an appointment with you. But the whole point is you're developing content, and the content is geared towards the search terms that you want to show up for, and you produce them consistently. So you're issuing an article once a month. Maybe it's twice a month. So the idea, and by the way, it's much better to produce an article a month than to have 12 articles, release them in 1 month, and then not put anything out for the rest of the year. Google looks for consistency. They have algorithms that are watching everything, and what they want to do is, look, this person consistently provides content in this space. So you don't want to show up for plumbers or electricians. You want to show up for family law topics, and that's how you go about it. So you really want to create content. You want to be blogging. and you want to be creating these links back. Are you doing that consistently in your practice? So, doing that, you actually, go up higher in the rankings. So you want to have an owner verified listing. It's Google Places. It's now been named Google My Business. You want to have links so that you're recognized in the directories, and you want to have online reviews. Now, that's a great transition to this next page. So we all do business with clients. We probably have some clients that love you. If you don't, well, that's another problem, and you got to fix that. But how many of us are consistently asking those clients to give us reviews? I would say that maybe 2%, if that, of any businesses inside or outside the legal field are asking for reviews consistently. And this is leaving money on the table, because you saw how those reviews show up when I did the search on Naples. You can see it on any search that you do. People's eyes will gravitate immediately to reviews, especially if they're 5-star reviews. So we all need to have a consistent process so that as you transition a client from like an initial, like that warm-up phase in the relationship to later on when, you don't have to wait until the case is won. You can do it as you're having successful interactions. And it's a matter of consistently sending out an email that says, hey, in order to serve our customers, we have to find them. So you say something, hey, the way we get customers is by word of mouth, by people searching for us online, and your review is priceless for us. So you're not trying to put an onus on them. You're asking for help. Now, some of your clients are going to say, hey, look, I just don't do that. They're lazy. They don't have time, whatever. Some people would be more than happy to, and you'd be surprised. Someone who you think was, just okay, happy with you might say, oh my God, this person changed my life. What a difference. The settlement I got. And they're more than happy to give you a review. So it's a matter of sending them an email that makes it super easy for them to review you on Google+, Google My Business, Yelp. There's a whole bunch of places that people can review you so that you show up, but especially inside of the Google My Places, so that your map listing shows those 5 stars, and maybe you have a number like 10, 20, 30. And, if you look at all the customers you have, all you need is for some, to get 1 or 2 of those a month, and now you get the reviews, and that starts pushing your listing up in search results. So another review of this. So what's your Google login? Now, I asked that question in there because some people don't even know what it is, which tells me, okay, they're actively not working it. Okay. Have you optimized the listing in Google My Business? Are you on all the major online legal directory listings? And are you using the same firm name, address, and phone number? So it's key that the NAP, name, address, phone number, is consistent across all the directories, because that tells Google, hey, this is the same company. Look at how consistent they are in the way they name their business. And again, that gives you a boost in the search. The same is true in the, let's see, are you on all the major online legal directories? I guess we have a typo in here. This is in here twice. How many online reviews do you have? And do you have a proactive strategy for getting more and more of that? I'm getting kind of towards the end of this, and now we start talking about social media. If you're producing content consistently, then why not highlight that in your social media feeds? And this can be done on a Facebook page, on a, your videos on YouTube, whatever that might be. Publish them out there. Those are a great place for people to find you, and you want to get that content out as many ways as possible. When you think about it, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, they're ways of getting referrals. In the past, if I'm looking for a divorce attorney, I call my friends. Now, how many times do you see someone online asking, hey, does anybody know of someone that does this? Hey, does anybody recommend this? So, people with something like divorce might not do that online, but if they see that you're promoting this or someone asks them, someone might say, hey, you know, I see these posts. They're really good from this one attorney that I know. Check them out. So it's a way to get more referrals from people that know you. So, you know, there's more of these. So do you have an active social media? How many likes do you have? Those are the kind of things. So look through those and see how you stand as a firm and what are the things that you could do to make that even better. Email. I hear this all the time. I hate email. I never respond to solicitations via email. That's not true. People, if someone sends an email out and the email is in the area that you need it to be, you will open up that email. Thing is that we get so many, any email strategy just has to be persistent, because even if you do have that match, people get so much email, sometimes they just miss it, right? So, you know, there's a lot of tools for doing that. We're an Infusionsoft certified consultant team. So, you know, we do a lot of that work, but you're producing all this content, right? Well, you might as well make a kind of newsletter out of it. And really what it is an email message with, hey, I just wrote this article. It covers this. You probably ought to consider taking a look, and then click to link to the article. Now you have more people going to your site. That's additional value because Google will come up and say, hey, look, someone's visiting the site. They hung out a period of time. And again, that helps lift your, your ranking. So, you know, you send email to client, you ask them for feedback, requesting a review. So email and review request. Send an email a few days after client meetings, asking them, you know, to follow you on social media. Please like my page, and that way you can kind of stay up on the latest articles. We have found them to be very helpful to other customers. And then you send out an email broadcast or a newsletter. And by the way, don't let a newsletter scare you. A newsletter can be a lot of work to build. But what we're talking about here is emails that send people to a blog article on your page. Keep it really simple. People don't necessarily have to see 6 articles, each of them, you know, with an abstract and a format or anything. Just send something out simple. The thing is, you have consistent content going out. Take advantage of it for something like this. So if you look at the handout, you'll see, you know, do you have an email address database, you know, things like that. So where do you stand here? So, you know, we like to ask the question, are you standing on top of a strong foundation? Okay. You know, have you set up your website? Have you optimized it for organic search? Have you optimized it for your Google map listing? Do you have a strategy for doing online reviews? Are you using email to your advantage? Are you using social media? These are all really good questions because, you know, PPC, by the way, is at the top. You know, like I mentioned before, this is the last thing you should be doing. These other things are things that you start building up on, because if you can get success here, it proves that you have a way of generating leads. And if that's the case, then PPC makes sense because you can get a better return on your investments because your conversions would be there. Okay, now something I always recommend to people, some people will come up, do a lot of this great work, now they start getting some sort of results, but they're not using the tools that you can use to find out how successful you're being. And that's a big mistake because then you can't improve. You know, you have to measure, where am I now and what happened when I send an email out? You know, did I get a spike in traffic? Did I get a spike in the phone calls, the number of people that are calling me? You really want to be tracking this carefully because otherwise you won't know how to slowly but surely improve your rankings. So, you know, here's a list of tools. You definitely have to be in Google Analytics to track your online ranking for keywords. There's a tool called Bright Local. There's SEO Books. There's Raven tools. I think you should consider tracking your phone number. So instead of placing your number in like Google My Business, you put a number that reroutes directly to your phone number. So that way you can tell how many phone numbers that come in on my phone line come through a phone number because someone found me online. Now, a lot of these tools have great features for recording what happens on those phone calls. You know, we've done projects like this with customers where we're getting them leads, and then, you know, it's like, hey, they're not getting any sales. Well, you know, we start looking at, you know, like the first 10 to 20 phone calls, and we hear it's like, hey, your receptionist isn't very friendly, or, you know, people are getting lost or being put on hold. You know, we've had some situations where it's like they had to get rid of the receptionist because they realized because of these phone calls that, hey, it was really bad. And then you really ought to put some sort of a CRM, a customer relationship management system, so that you can track what's happening over time, and you understand, you know, how many touches you're having with people, how, you know, someone called, we spoke to them, you know, you record a note in the CRM, and then over time you can see, well, what are the things that start happening to make the customer experience really good and get you to closing the client as a customer. So, you know, make sure you have Google Analytics, you have to have keyword ranking tracking, and call tracking. Okay, so, you know, we've kind of gone through this whole checklist. You know, I've kind of gone through a number of these. Where do you stand? You know, what is it that you're doing that's good? And, you know, a lot of us have things that are good. A lot of us have things, you know, there's shortcomings in what we have, and there's areas for improvement. So I'm hoping you can use this information, you know, to take a next step. Now, you know, if you're out there and you're doing this, and, you know, you're thinking, hey, man, doing this by myself is just going to be so much work, and it's going to be like experimentation, trial and error, or we're just never going to get to it, you know, let us know. You know, we'd be happy to work with you to see if we can get your marketing right. If you are interested, there's our phone number. You know, we'd be happy to schedule time with you. So there's a link you can get right to my calendar, and it's my calendar, it's not someone else's. And, you know, we can talk about this. There's no obligation. You're not going to hurt my feelings if you decide not to do business with us, you know, so it's a free call that you can use that with. So, you know, with that, we've come to the end of this webinar. You know, in a moment, I'm going to open up the lines, give people a chance to, you know, ask any questions. I'll be around for a little bit, and, you know, be happy to help out. So, you know, let's see what's going on. I'll look at the question queue here, and let me see.